Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Goodman. This is the recording that I said I would prepare for you. The first thing we want to do. Good afternoon, Ms. Goodman. This is the recording that I said I would prepare for you. We need to do is Windows open. Give me 1 second. So what we need to do, first of all, is open Google Earth. So I'm going to pull this up on Chrome. You may or may not have Google Earth Pro downloaded to your computer. Google Earth Pro will give you more accurate results and you can do more. So if you're able to download that to your computer, then please do so. Let's see. Let me see if I have that on my desktop. 1 second. All right, I do not. That takes a few minutes, but if you can, take the time to do a Google Earth Pro situation. I'm just going to use regular Google Earth for the time being. And you're familiar with this platform, so I'm not going to go into detail about it. But what you basically want to do is go to Google Earth and measure one of the standard elements on the site. We're going to use the width of the street. And I'm typing in Tuskegee, Alabama Farmers Market. Right, so click on that. And it's going to zoom in for us. We want to try and get as close as possible because, like I told you before, we need to not only measure the site, this is the farmer's market. We want a 2D view. So I clicked 2D on the right-hand side of the screen where it has this, the compass, 3D, the little person that shows you the street view, etc. All right, so the first thing we need to do is create a reference for measurement so that you can scale this accordingly in AutoCAD. So we're going to click on the ruler tool, which is on the far left-hand side of your screen at the very bottom icon that looks like a ruler. And we're going to use a standard street. You're going to have to do some further research. I would suggest using Google Maps to get the street names because you're going to need to label that on your final AutoCAD drawing. So this is giving us 8.5 meters. We want to change this to feet. If we click on that gray box in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, it'll give you the distance in feet. So from curb to curb is 28 feet. And we know curbs are kind of janky in Tuskegee. So we might want to measure this again. I'm just going to click the measurement ruler to get out of that and try it one more time. So it's telling us it's about 28 feet, which is fine for a two-way, a little wide. We can actually leave that line here if we like. If you were here on the campus, I would suggest actually going to the site and taking that distance measurement or even doing a sidewalk. Okay. So I'm just going to click enter so that that bar is there. Now, the next thing that you want to do is essentially take a screenshot of this. And I'm not sure if you're working with a Mac or a PC, but with a Mac, you can press down the Windows key, Shift, and S, I believe. Yes. And that will give you the option to do a snip. And I'm going to take the rectangular snip tool and take as much of the map as possible because we want as much as the surrounding site as possible. And then that snip will be saved to the clipboard. So we want to click on that immediately so we can go ahead and save that out. And this is the image that you will be taking. You'll be taking that screenshot, which comes in as a PNG. We're just going to label it Farmers Market Site. Save that as a PNG. I'm saving it to my desktop because that's where I put everything. You should do it somewhere that makes sense for your life. In terms of organization, you probably need a file that has your summer internship and et cetera, and then the particular farmer's market documentation. I'm not necessarily always that organized, so it's on my desktop. One thing that I did not do prior to taking a snip is making sure that north was up, which is something that we want to make sure of whenever we are doing architectural drawings. It's better to have north in the upward direction because that's just one of those kind of understood rule of thumbs throughout the profession. So when you're taking your context, like your overall context map, you'll want this to be facing up. So I'm actually going to take another snippet of this, and it still has my, so again, I press the Windows key, the Shift key, and S, and that takes a snip or a screenshot. And all I did to make that we were facing due north was click on the compass so that that red arrow is pointing upward. And I'm going to save this as Farmers Market two. So we're saving the things and all of that. Okay. Save. So we have two different views. One thing that'll be helpful as you are actually kind of working through your CAD drawings and you're rotating, you know, your map, etc., is if when you are tracing out your site drawing, like the immediate site surrounding the existing farmers market. And I believe I told you that we were going to be looking at, let me use the measurement tool again, this area in particular, kind of from corner to corner. Again, I got to double check with Dr. Shangay to make sure that's correct. But this rectangle that I'm outlining here. So as you're tracing your site, that's not much of a rectangle. As you're tracing your site in AutoCAD, this is the area that you want to focus on. Okay, so we have two views of that saved out. You can, I'll save out this just for the sake of having the information. And say, I'll name this farmers market site with boundaries. All right. Once that's saved again, and close that up. And then we're going to go to AutoCAD. Create a new drawing. And so the most important part of this step of bringing into your drawings into AutoCAD is making sure that you scale everything correctly. So we're going to go to the Insert tab, which is one over to the right of your Home tab at the top of the screen. And you're going to not insert block. Let's attach. Inserts reference to external files such as other drawings, raster images, and underlays. So we're going to use attach. And then I'm going to my desktop and picking one of the images that we use for the farmer's market site. I'm going to do farmer's market site 2 because we know that one is already due north. Okay, so we got our relative path, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just clicking on the left-hand side of my screen and placing it in here. So you know how to go about creating your layers, et cetera. So I'm not going to go over that. I'm going to go back to my Homes tab, click on the polyline. I'm going to create, I'm going to go to layer properties and create a new layer. And I'm going to name it reference. This is all in caps. Reference line. And I'm going to change it to something bright, be it orange, red, whatever. I'm going to use red because it's a contrast to the existing yellow line. Right, so we know that this line, when we measured it in Google Maps, was 28 feet. So when we, before we do that, let's make sure we change our units, which is what you asked me about earlier today. So we have a layer for the reference line. We're going to type in units. You can really type this in anywhere on the screen and make sure we change it to architectural. Hit OK. And so now we're good. We're in architectural units. So now we're going to go through the scaling process. I'm just scrolling out so you can get a full view of the image. So we're going to type in scale or SC, and I'm going to select this entire, why does it do that? There we go. Select this entire object. Wait, take a step back. Before we do that, I'm going to draw a line right where this, on top of where this yellow line is. So from point to point, make sure I'm on the right layer. So that makes a big difference so I can see it. So from point to point, we have a red line, okay? So now we go to scale because we have a reference line there. And to get all of this in one swoop, I just click on the right-hand side of the screen and drag over, and that'll give me the green rectangle. And I'm just right-clicking to enter. I'm specifying the base point, and I'm just going to click to the left-hand side of the screen again. And it's asking, if you look down in the command bar, that white command bar at the bottom of the screen, it asks you if you're going to do a copy or a reference. And I'm going to type in R for reference and hit enter. Okay, so then it's going to ask you to specify reference length. But what you want to do is click on your line from end to end. So this will give you the exact measurement of the existing reference, right? After you do that, you don't have to hit enter yet. If you look in the command bar at the bottom of the screen, it says scale, specify new length or points. You want to type in 28 feet. and then hit enter. Okay, now we're going to scroll out. You can hit zoom or Z, enter, A, enter, and that'll zoom all. And now we can test whether or not this scaled properly by taking a measurement of the red line and making sure it's at 21 feet now. So we're going to do distance, which the shorthand for it is DI. Hit enter, go back to our red line. And from end to end, that red line is 28 feet, which means our drawing is now to scale. So from here, you can go about setting up your different layers for the curb cuts and the site boundaries. Remember, again, the site boundaries, to my knowledge, and this could be wrong, but I need to double check with Dr. Shange. The site boundaries are this rectangle from street end to street end. We probably need a little more of the picture, but you get the general idea. So I'm just outlining that in red for you so you can see it. We don't necessarily need to include the sidewalk, but we can come to the end of like this grassy area right before the stair. One thing I'll have to make sure I do is go out and take some pictures of this so that you can see what the surrounding site looks like. There was one more thing on Google Earth that I wanted to show you, and that was how to create a path so that you could recognize the slope. But I'm going to have to download Google Earth on this computer first and then get back to you with those instructions. So for the time being, just go about tracing all this information. Make sure you set up your different layers. I believe I gave you kind of the layer line weights and things that you could use. If you, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, so I'm just gonna go over it really quickly. If you want to change the line type, like the actual type of line for your layer, you can create a new layer. I'm going to outline this in yellow, and you'll see in the properties box in the upper left-hand portion of the screen, they have loaded line types are only continuous, right? So we want to go down to load. And you can, remember I told you for a site boundaries, it needs to be that long dash triple dot line. So you can click on that, hit OK. And then that will become the line type for this particular layer. Okay. I'm going to set this layer to current. I just right clicked on it. And then I'm going to go around here. Now we'll probably have to go back and scale this line type just so you can see it once it's printed. But if you scroll in really closely, you'll be able to see that it's dash, dot, 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 dash. So dash, triple dot rather, is the correct line type for outlining a site boundary. And then you can go in with your polyline and trace the sidewalks, the parking area, the roof lines, etc., using the appropriate layer colors and line weights. If you have any questions, feel free to call me, text me, shoot me an email. Texting obviously is faster, but like I explained to you before, I am without a laptop right now. So sometimes doing these demonstrations require me to come into the office to do it. So it takes a little bit longer. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope that was well said. Oh, shit. All this time, I haven't been recording. Hopefully it streamed on YouTube. And we'll do the things later. excuse the profanity.